Now the hive tools and the stuff that you will use as you go through your process of keeping your bees. This is an essential piece of equipment, I think, for beekeepers. There are beekeepers out there that don't use any smoke. They don't like to bother the bees with that, and that's one way of doing it. As you're a new beekeeper coming in, these are the decisions you'll get to make as you develop your hives and your process of keeping your bees. But the smokers come in a couple of different sizes. There's a small one and a large one that can get more fuel in it to last you longer if you've got a lot of hives. But these smaller ones that come with the kits are the ones that will be very effective for you as you're building up your hive. And there's different types of fuel. You can use burlap that we provide, and that burns well and gives you some smoke, easy to start, or you can use some pellets that are easy to start. One of the things I do recommend is as you're smoking them, some folks as they begin their new one will tip the smoker completely to the, so it's not horizontal anymore, but it kind of leans towards the end of the spout. And you have to be careful with that because as you smoke, you can send sparks, you know, the embers that are in the bottom of that into the beehive, and that can damage bees and burn their wings and do that kind of stuff. So I've always just smoked from the side, keeping that up at an angle so that those embers are not coming out. This tool right here is the tool that most beekeepers will have. It's called a hive tool. One end has got a curved portion on it, the other end is flat, and it helps to separate the frames because the bees will use propolis to glue all their frames down and together. And with this, you can quickly separate them to be able to pull frames out and be able to look at the frames to evaluate the hive and the strength of your hive and what's going on in that. A bee brush is also something that most folks like to carry with them. It's a very soft bristled brush, and the idea is to gently remove your bees from off of the frames, especially during the times when you're starting to collect honey. You can brush them off very gently back into the hive and then put that frame over in another box and cover it up with a towel or make sure the bees can't get back into it. It's a very effective way and a gentle way of doing it without trying to harm your bees or harming your bees. Right, this has been an educational experience for you. We do encourage you to get on to look at some educational stuff. This backyard beekeeping book that we publish has really the very basics. It's about like this presentation and will help you and your folks that may be helping you to understand about beekeeping and the things that are in there, and you can see pictures and you can go back and read. And it's a pretty good book, I think. Protective clothing. You've got a full suit demonstrated here. It goes all the way to your feet, and it goes all the way to the top of your head with a veil at the top of it. And it has cuffs that are elasticized to keep them bees from getting into your stuff. But I have a daughter that when she puts her gloves on, and you can see that the gloves have a very long sleeve on them, they'll come up a ways. She then takes duct tape and tapes it between the two and also on her feet, because bees that are on the ground can end up crawling up your leg. Got in a swarm one time and we were taking it out and there was a bunch of bees on the ground. I hadn't seen them. They crawled up my pant leg and stung me 6 times within the area of a quarter. It does happen. These are designed to help you overcome stings. On the veils, I will, let me explain this one first. It's just a half one. It comes right down to about your waist, and most beekeepers, after they get to feel a little bit better, will go to this one. But this one here, if you're wearing it, is the best chance of best protection for you. We have a small veil over here that just has a wide brim on it, and then it has the mesh around it, and it can close here at the neck, or you can even put it under your arms and do it around the chest to keep it a little bit better. This one can also be used by gardeners, or if they're out there and they have a lot of pests and bugs that are in the garden and flying in the face and stuff like that. It's a good way to keep those off you while you're working in your garden. And then of course the long gloves, a good thick glove. None of this clothing do you want to be real tight on you. You want it loose. The bees have a stinger that's only so big, and but if a bee comes up and your face is touching the mesh that's up there on the veil, a bee can sting through that. So you want to keep that open. I like to wear a baseball cap like you see me wearing here, because then that keeps the veil away from my face. You'll find ways of doing things that you like. and you may decide you like this kind of an outfit. My son-in-law is allergic to bees, and he rarely wears protective clothing. I think he's a little bit crazy on that, but he's very comfortable with most of the bees. But he's also able to recognize those hives that are a little bit more aggressive, and then he'll put a veil on. So let's go over some of the things that we've already talked about that you've seen here, and to help you understand a little bit more as to what they're used for. In-hive feeder is a big one. It basically takes the place of one of the frames and foundations that's inside. You'll have to take one of those out to put this in. So instead of having 10 frames inside the box, you'll only have 9. Holds about a gallon worth of feed, and has to be opened up to be able to see it. This will always stay on your top hive, your top box, so that it's easy to get to. The entrance feeder, this one slips up in the front of your feeder. You can see the level of the feed, and the bees will come in and a little bit more protected and able to take care of it from those that might want to rob. And of course the top feeder. There's also what we call a pollen patty, and you'll see that pollen patties come in different amounts of pollen with inside the pollen patty. 4% basically to help just feed the bees. If you get into 15%, some people call them brood patties and others just feed patties. That usually helps them to stimulate brood building and growing the hive. Usually used in the early spring, again with any of your other feeds, and in the late fall if you need to do it. And then you can have liquid feed that comes in a gallon jug and goes into here, or it can be poured into here, whichever one you want to use. There are some advantages with the feed. The thing about the springtime is, like out here in our neighborhood, we've had a winter that's been very warm at times, 60 degrees in January, 50 degrees, the bees will get out, but there's not much flora, and so they'll start consuming more of the feed that they have. You might have to stimulate to supplement their feed with one of these processes, either the liquid or the pollen patties, and it can definitely have a impact on your hives. We've shown you we have a struggling hive, and you can see that they're not doing so well. This should be just covered with bees on the top of this hive, and after feeding it the right supplement, and for about 3 weeks, you have a stronger hive, and the bees are starting to build up a little bit better. And it can also happen as you go into the winter time, if you have a long period of time in winter and they haven't built up a lot of stores of honey and pollen in there. You may need to use the supplements for that. So let's talk about a few accessories that you might want to think about using. This pollen trap up here is used to take the pollen that the bees are bringing back into the hive. It scrapes them off in them and puts them in a little tray, and at some point you can collect those. And a lot of people use those as natural food supplements. I know some folks that use a teaspoon of pollen in their warm drinks, tea, that kind of stuff. And they use these kind of things to help them facilitate getting that. I would recommend that you have some kind of a hive stand that gets the hive up off the ground. Otherwise you'll have mice and any kind of thing that likes to be able to be protected. They'll get up under those bottom boards, and it also raises it up to a level that you can work with it without having to bend over way too far to work with it. It's got to be sturdy, and then it's nice to have something that you can take a frame and pull it out of your hive and set it down. It's not laying up in the grass or the weeds or anything that's around your hive, so that you can work in your hive, check it, and then put them back into the hive. Some people that have a weak grip might find a frame grip helpful. This is just a mechanism that allows you to grab a hold of that frame and pull it up out of the hive. And you can also get frame rests that have clips on it, so that you can, as you come to your hive and you have to open it up, you can set them on the edges of your hive and then use it to work with your frames as they come out of it.